So today we are going to record the part 2.1 working with Java data types, Java identifiers and naming conventions. This is the second part of the OCA exam. We're going to talk about this. So we have already recorded the first part of Java basics, all 5 chapters: Java class structure, main method, scope of variables, packages and imports, Java features, etc. So today we are starting with Java identifiers and naming conventions. So, and next one will be variables, primitive types and casting, but that will be second part. So today let's discuss about Java identifiers and naming conventions. So what is an identifier, right? So before we learn about variables and data types, we need to understand identifiers, because every variable, method and class that you create in Java needs a name. That name is called an identifier. So when you write int age is equal to 25, the word age is an identifier. When you write class student, the word student is an identifier. When you write void calculate, the word calculate is an identifier. Every name you type in your Java code is an identifier, and Java has strict rules about what names are allowed and what names will cause a compilation error. So we have to be mindful about that. So a valid identifier, Java identifier, must start with a letter, a $sign or an underscore. It just cannot be a keyword about which you are going to discuss, and it cannot contain spaces. So like you have a variable name your space name, it will not work, or it should not have special characters, and it is case sensitive, right? So rule number 1 is the first character must be a letter. So a, small a or caps a $sign and an underscore. That's it. Only these 3 options for the first character. So name, $total or underscore count are all valid because they start with a letter, $sign and an underscore respectively. Rule number 2, after the first character you can also use digits. So value 1, my underscore var 2, $a3, etc. all valid. Digits are allowed from second position onwards, just not as the first character. Rule number 3, and this is the most tested rule, you cannot start with a digit. So 2 value is invalid, 3D model is invalid. The moment the compiler sees a digit as the first character, it rejects the name immediately. Rule number 4, you cannot use special characters like hyphen, then @ hash, exclamation, % or spaces. So my hyphen variable fails because hyphen is actually the subtraction operator in Java. Hello world, hello space world will fail because of the space. My @email fails because @ is not allowed. So we'll show more in the next slide about that, special characters. Then rule number 5 says you cannot use Java's reserved keywords. Words like int, class, void, for, while, these belong to Java. You cannot use them as your own names. And rule number 6 is Java is case sensitive. My var, then small case my var, then capital case my var, and then all caps my var. They are totally 3 completely different identifiers. The compiler treats them as separate names. And one more thing, Java supports Unicode characters, so technically you could use Greek letters or Chinese characters as identifiers, but nobody does this in practice and the exam won't test you on this. So here we are going to discuss about special characters. So there are so many of them. You don't need to remember all this fully. You just have to remember that Java treats space as a separator between tokens. As it is by seeing a particular character, you'll know that these are special characters as they appear on the keyboard, right? So we are not going to discuss that much here about this. So let's discuss about a few tricky valid versus invalid examples. So underscore count, is it valid? It is valid because underscore is allowed. Then $total, is it valid? It's valid because dollar is acceptable. Then $_, is it valid? It's valid. Then 3 underscores together, right? Underscores are valid, all legal. Then only one single $, is it a valid variable name? It's fine, right? No issues. Then my variable 1, small m, my variable 1, that's fine. That's not a problem. But you cannot have the second place because 2 is a digit and you cannot have a digit, right? Then my hyphen variable hyphen is treated as a subtraction operator, so it's a operator, so it's invalid. Then hello space wall, space is not acceptable. 3D model 3 is not acceptable, it cannot start. And then my @email, like we discussed, @ is a special character, not allowed. Total, sharp, count, again sharp is not a valid identifier, right? So these are basic some tricky or invalid examples. And then we have many reserved keywords like abstract, case, continue. Don't have to remember all these things because you already know that all these things as you work on Java, like throw, strict API, protected, public, native, import, all these things are all reserved words, keywords. But you have to remember two things, that constant and go to, right? These are reserved, but these are not used in Java. And all listed words cannot be used as identifiers. So already you know most of this in your code every day, so it's fine if you don't have to remember everything, but just in case you can have a look at this, that's all. So special, reserved, literals, and not reserved, right? So there are few reserved literals which are not keywords, but they are literals, like true, false. So you cannot use true or false as variable names. So if you write int true is equal to 5, a small true, small t, true is equal to 5, that's a compile time error. And then you cannot have a string null. Null is also compile time. It will give these are all reserved ones, though they are not keywords, but they are reserved. They are literals, but they are reserved. And then they are not reserved some other stuff also. So you have to remember that's very important. So you can have a variable name as string. Very strange, but you can use it string, capital A starts with capital S. Then you can have system, integer, array list, all this. So this will compile, but you have to remember that. So it's not wise to use them in actual code, but for the exam you can remember the string, system, all these things are there because these are all class names. They are not keywords. Okay. Then we have Java identifiers naming convention. So conventions here, there are many various things, right? For classes, we have to use PascalCase. So every word starts with an uppercase letter. So you can have a class name student record. In that case, we have to use capital S and capital R. Student record, my class, capital M, capital C, bank account, capital B, capital A. So for classes, it's called PascalCase, right? And then for methods and variables, we have to use camelCase. So if this combination of letters, words, then the first word will be lowercase, then every following word starts uppercase. So like calculate total, small c, but total will be capital T. Then first name capital small f, then but capital N. Then small g, get username small g, then capital U, and then name capital N, like that, right? So these are all like camelCase. For constants, we have to use upper underscore snake underscore case. In that case, what will happen is that all will be in all uppercase, but you have to put underscores between words like max underscore value, all this default underscore size, like that. So that's called upper snake case. And for variables also, we have to use camelCase. For packages, it will be all lower cases like com.company.project, right? So these are one thing we have to understand, that these are all naming convention. These are not rules, right? So compiler won't enforce that. So like you can have a int capital M int variable, right? So capital starts with the capital, but convention is lowercase, but you can start with the uppercase. Compiler will not complain here. But if you write int class is equal to 5 small c here, you won't compile here because it's it violates a rule, it's a keyword. So there is various exam traps that we are going to discuss about. Trap 1 is class versus class. So you can have int class small c starts with a small c. It will not compile because that's a keyword, but you can have it with the int class or capital C in class. It will compile because uppercase just an identifier, it's not a keyword. Like false and false, if it starts with a small f, in that case it's a boolean literal, it's a reserved literal, so it won't compile. But you can have a capital, all capital false, that not a literal, so just an identifier, so it will compile, not an issue. Then you can have, like we discussed, system, string, all these things. These are like class names, and null is also reserved, right? So it will not compile at all. Null is a literal. Okay, so let's go to question number 1. So what is there? int $_ is equal to 10, perfectly fine. int 3 underscores is equal to 20, perfectly fine. int $ is equal to 30, and perfectly fine, right? So all these first three things are perfectly fine. So if we just add them up, it should be 60, right? So answer is C. Question number 2. Question number 2, which of the following are valid Java identifiers? Choose all that apply, right? So underscore, dollar are fine, AB are fine, small int is not fine, capital int is fine, so ABD are fine, then E is not fine, you can't have a class, but F is fine, public is fine, it's all caps, then G is fine, underscore starts with underscore, H is not fine because there is a space between my and variable, right? So that's about this section. Let's meet in the next video.